Hey, this is Josh with New Review coming at you with a new review of This Is Us. The episodes Super Bowl Sunday and The Car. So Super Bowl Sunday, we finally learn how Jack died. And it has a typical structure of our present, Jack's present. Basically the continuity where Jack's alive and Jack isn't alive. Adult main characters, not adult main characters. You get the idea. And it takes place on Super Bowl Sunday, which means they had to do some finagling. Although since NBC aired the Super Bowl, they kind of got around some of the issues with having sound from another channel's programming in an NBC show. Anyways, we finally learned how Jack died. So at the last episode before Super Bowl Sunday, which aired on a Sunday, ironically enough, the actual Super Bowl Sunday, the slow cooker short-circuited and started a fire. And the fire was a contributing factor to Jack's death. And I really like the fake out. Originally, we thought when Jack went back in to get the dog, and it turns out also family memories, we thought he was going to die in the typical burned in a fire, things of that nature. But he makes it out. That was great. We anticipated him dying the same night as the fire. We just didn't know how. Or after the house had been burned, we didn't know how. And started out seeming healthy, and then he died suddenly, and Rebecca didn't believe it. And to be honest, that's kind of similar to how when I found out my grandmother died, I didn't believe it. Still a little tough, and I can feel their pain, kind of, actually completely. Additionally, going to the present, or our timeline, our time, the way that they reacted to Jack's death and how they celebrate Super Bowl Sunday, it kind of fits with how they grew up. Apparently, Kevin drank himself into a stupor. Kate wallows in it because she was crying for her dog. She was scared. Jack wanted to live up to her expectations and wanted to keep her happy because Kate was Jack's favorite. And she feels guilty because he went back in to get her dog, and that's why he's dead. And I can get that. I really do. And Randall, he wants to celebrate his dad's life. And Rebecca, she does the same thing. There was a slight difference, adjustment. Kate wallows in it a little bit, but she allowed Toby to kind of help her get a little better. It's not easy to get over loss, especially when you've wallowed in something like that for 20 years, feeling guilty for his death. But she's getting better. So is Kevin. He didn't get drunk. He went to his dad's tree, which we find out is his tree because of a scare that Kate had, thinking she had cancer, which is in the next episode. We find that out in the next episode. But it was a beautiful moment, I think, because it's showing Kevin in a vulnerability and an understanding that we haven't seen him have since he got hurt and started to kind of spiral down into addiction. We also see him going through. We also saw him go through with the list of to ask for forgiveness, and the last one, and if I remember correctly, Sophie was the last one, and she kind of blamed herself, but also kind of ended their relationship permanently, which I get. She doesn't want to go through the same thing twice or a third time, so it's understandable. And then we get a little flash forward, and Randall's oldest daughter becomes a social worker, helps kids who don't really have anyone in their life be part of a family, even if it's for a little bit. Because she enjoyed having Deja, the foster child, in her family. And Deja returns at the end of Super Bowl Sunday. We will find out after the Olympics why that happened, but, Now, the second episode that aired on the typical time was The Car. And this one was a little unique in that it took place right after Jack died, and when they first got the God, I forgot what they called the car, but their car. And I really enjoyed it because it took place at the funeral and largely at the dealership. And it kind of showed how they were dealing with the loss immediately after, and what Jack wanted. Jack wanted that his number one goal was to make sure his family was okay. And I'm going to tear up a little bit like I did at the end of the episode. And part of that was having this experience with this car, and he talked about all the experiences that they would have in it. And it kind of showed through flash forwards. And it just reminded me a little bit of my family, a little bit, which is good. You want a TV show to you want something that you use kind of for an escape to kind of keep you connected to reality, which is why we choose what we choose to watch, and why it ultimately succeeds. And they end up okay kind of at the end, because they go to a Bruce Springsteen concert, which Kate had showed some interest. Because when she went to an Alanis Morissette event, Jack listened to a little bit of Alanis Morissette's music, and then Kate listened to a little Bruce Springsteen's, and she saw the connection, or heard the connection, rather. And the fact that after the funeral they stop at his tree, which was just the closest tree they could find while Rebecca was going through her cancer scare, spread a little of his ashes, and then Kate takes the urn. And then they go to the concert like he would have wanted. Which ironically was part of the stuff that he saved. I can't wait for the end of the Olympics are awesome, but I can't wait for the end of the Olympics so that we can see how the rest of this season goes, because Kevin did have a darker storyline, but it still could be a little more in that vein because the season's not over yet, and I know he's on the redemption path, but I kind of want to see. It's not easy. It's not easy to get out of addiction, especially when addiction can run in the family. And I kind of want to see Kate and Toby grow, and I want to see why Deja returned. But it's going well so far. I like the fake out, even though it tore at everyone who watched it. So yeah, this is Joshua with New Review for This Is Us, signing off.